everyone, it's Annalise, and I'm so excited that the time has come that I can share with you the most updated, latest versions of the running records for all operations. It has been a long time working on these and getting them to the point where we feel it's comfortable to release them all to you. I say that's all the time that we spent, not because I want attention of, I'm getting all this time, but to give you the understanding that it took a long time and a lot of thought went into these. Dr. Nikki, in fact, did 10 years of research and action research of giving hundreds of these assessments with students across the country to make her original protocol. So that was 10 years in the making before that book came out. And then I had taken the webinar with her before the book was even published, and I learned about them and realized the power of them, and I began administering them in my schools. And then we had made some tweaks in my school based on what we needed. And I then began, I shared them with her to let her know what I was doing, and she's kept her eye on me all this time. And we had worked and kept changing and changing throughout 3 years of working on them. And then within the last 6 months or so to finalize them and give them all to you, she had the perspective of the global perspective of wanting this protocol to be something that no matter who gives it, wherever they live and wherever they are, the results would be the same, and trying to standardize that and think of it from a global perspective. Whereas I had been in a tiny town in Berlin, New Hampshire, and making it meet the needs of my school, but I also was there in sharing them and sharing my philosophy of math. And so understanding what all the codes are meaning and all the different parts of the running record, but I can't be everywhere to explain all those to everyone. And want to make sure that no matter who sees this, they understand it, and that all of the philosophies behind it are in place. So you'll notice a few differences there. But yeah, so it's taken a long time in the running, but I'm so excited that they're finally here, and we finally have come to the agreement that they are ready to be released. We're not going to change them anymore. You would not believe the detailed discussions that have gone into every single little code, every single little font, and making it all standardized. But hopefully you will enjoy using this new updated version of it. And I wanted to share a few things before I create the videos explaining exactly the protocols and the thoughts behind each of those sections. So first of all, we're about to start the school year. Maybe some of you have already begun the school year. And I want to talk about which running records to give at each grade level. So they are most appropriate for the end of kindergarten, because during kindergarten, we're working a lot on the counting and cardinality, and there is so much sophistication to that. I had not realized as a fifth grade teacher for 13 years, that's all that I had taught before I became a math coach, the unbelievable sophistication that there is to teach early numeracy to developing young minds, that there are 20 levels of counting even. I had no idea. So it's been certainly a journey for me these last 4 years as I developed my own math mind of early numeracy and all. And that's what I've loved so much about these running records. They're allowing me to spread the information about how intricate and complicated it is to teach children these early numeracy concepts. So really end of K is the most appropriate time for that, to get a feeling for each of the students. Of course, we want the students to be flexible thinkers and fluency within 5. Now, when I say fluency, let's make sure that we're clear. Speed and accuracy, yes, but also that flexibility of thought. Super important in using strategies and being able to visualize relationships between numbers to understand it, and with those numbers within 5 at that point for our kindergartners. For first graders, we want it within 10, and then with second grade, by the end of second grade, we're hoping students can add and subtract within the 20. Once we get third grade, now we're adding on also the multiplication and division. So that's the journey for our kiddos. So what we have done actually in my schools is in the lower elementary, given the subtraction and addition running records for our ending kindergartners, we kind of had an idea at the start of grade 1 where they will be. We give adding and subtracting. We usually have given them 3 times a year to kind of watch the growth over the course of the year. But what I also found in my grade 3 to 5 school was that subtraction was the biggest weakness and an Achilles heel. It takes the kids out. And so rather than starting the year with multiplication and division, let's say in grade 4, we actually have given them subtraction and multiplication. We still have found lots of our kids not mastering their multiplication math facts. So that's been, of course, important. And third grade is the year for them learning it. So it's not really appropriate to give them the running record, other than like maybe in the middle of the year when they've had some foundational understanding of the conceptual understanding of multiplication. But so we typically have started the year in third grade giving adding and subtracting. The middle of the year, when a student is ready and shown mastery of adding and subtracting, we'll give multiplication. But certainly grade 4 and 5, we've given subtraction and multiplication. But we've been working on this now for a couple of years. And so once you can bring the whole school up to speed, you won't necessarily need to do that. But that is how we've been doing it at my school. And we focus on the subtraction, of course, because it's their biggest weakness. And of course, they're using it within the context of, let's say, division. And so they need those subtraction skills. So you will notice in this newer version that there is no rubric. I had released the version back a few months ago when I thought that it was ready to go. I did not realize how much more there was going to be. But that rubric was something that we had used in my school to kind of give just a general understanding of their speed, general reading on their accuracy, and then, of course, the flexibility has been the most important piece. But Dr. Nikkis felt very strongly that these should not be used as a summative assessment. It should not be something used that gives a grade in a report card. I know it all comes down to that assessment, and we all know time is valuable. If we're giving time to give these assessments, we don't want to make feel like that time was wasted or anything, and we do need to give grades. I understand that. But Dr. Nikkis was like, no, these are meant for instructional purposes. They are not meant for grading at all. They're meant for us to get a reading on the kids, zoom in on exactly what they need, and then begin instructing and teaching them, not on giving them a grade. So those rubrics had to go away. Now, if you feel like you have to, and I know districts require some speed tests, and for those districts, I would love to sit down with those administrators and talk to them about why we don't want those time tests, but that's another story. So if your school feels that you have to and they're expecting this of you, you could create a probe that has all the math facts of all the addition, let's say, and all the subtraction, and have the kids do a 2-color assessment where they do it with 1 color, and you give them, let's say, like 5 seconds per problem, and then time them for that. At the end of that time, have them all change the color of their pencil. So they don't know that it's being timed. They're not realizing that you're getting a reading on how fast they are. We don't want to send that message of our kiddos that being fast means that you're good at math. We really want to make sure the kids understand that mathematicians are so much more intricate than that, much more complicated than coming down to being fast. So you could give that, and that could give you a reading on the speed and the accuracy, and then the running record gives you information on the flexibility of their strategic thought and where that fits in the realm of mastering those facts within those certain strategy levels. So suggestion on that. You'll also notice that there are levels now on the back. Now that is based on, well, the whole running record is based on tons of research that Dr. Nikkis has done. And so Carpenter and Moser, she based her leveling on those processes of the progression of the development. So 0 would be they have no understanding of a strategy of how to figure out a math fact. 1 would be they're starting to use fingers or counting objects. So some either counting with fingers or physical objects. 2, we get into the mental math. Maybe they're counting on and counting all like in their head. 3 is they're using derived facts. So if I know 5 plus 6, if I know 5 plus 5 is a 10, 5 plus 6 is 1 more, that's a derived fact. That would be getting me my 3. And a 4 would be they have automaticity. So they have the accuracy, it's relatively fast within 3 seconds or so, and they can explain why. The big crucial piece is, do they have that automaticity with understanding? That's why I noticed the 4M. The 4M is there because if students have memorized them, and I see this a lot in multiplication, they've memorized the math facts. And so if they've memorized them and they're accurate, because I've seen students memorize them that are not accurate, and I'll ask them, how do they know? And they say, well, I just learned it. That's hard to undo. But if they've memorized them and they're accurate and they're speedy, they're not done. They're not a well-rounded mathematician, because to be to be fluent, you have to have the flexibility in the strategies. And I've had lots of students who have memorized their math facts for multiplication. And when I ask them what 4 times 12 is, they'll tell me, I haven't learned that one yet. Their mindset is that they have to learn all these sets of numbers and math facts and not think about a strategy that then unlocks any number, and to have that confidence to try it out and not to be afraid to make a mistake. All the growth mindset messages. So those levels are there for us. I'll be explaining that in a little more detail when I do the videos explaining the protocols. The first thing is just get going. Find a student, sit them down, whether they're your child or your niece or your nephew or someone in the neighborhood, call them in and sit them down. You're only going to learn by doing it yourself. I didn't know for myself when I first began it. I was so nervous. I was afraid, but you're not going to mess anything up. The child's not going to be hurt. You're not going to be hurt. Just get going. Just get the feeling for what it's like to interview them. I found for myself that I was so keyed in on the protocol and marking those things up, I was never watching the child. So when I was trying to think afterwards about, were they figure counting? Were they mental counting? I'm like, I have no idea, because I wasn't looking at the kid. So it's just a process of learning it and getting more comfortable with it. And then you get to the point where you'll be able to administer it and watch the child and see what they're actually doing, since that's the crucial important piece. Once, of course, the running records are done, then we have our information and we can go there, go to the next step. We want to follow concrete, pictorial, and abstract progressions of exploring each of these strategies, give the kids practice time. I have seen some scope and sequences. In fact, some people had uploaded it to our Google Drive file. I did not create those files. So that was a communal effort of everyone kind of bringing things in together. But someone had asked me about that recently, and I just wanted to express my feelings about having a scope and sequence where every single kid is doing the same set of math facts. I don't really believe in that. I really think we need to meet the kids where they are. And that's why we're doing the running record, is to find out exactly where each of the kids need. So when they go to a fluency station, that they are able to work on what they need. And so certainly sending them homework, to give them homework of what they need. And not everyone is doing doubles plus one and learning these set of facts is more complicated than that. So I understand certainly for instruction, you want to have an instructional plan for your class and when you want to introduce certain things. But in terms of the homework for kids or even the activities to do in their workstations, we want to really level it. We want to make sure that our kids are doing what they need, because everyone playing a Make 10 game is not going to meet the needs of 2/3 of your kids. A third of them have no idea what numbers are within 5, and a third of them are working in their doubles or beyond. So it's not meeting anybody's needs other than the third, right? So we want to make sure we can try to get those set. And once you've gone through the work to make those stations, work together with colleagues and split the time it takes, then you're all set and you don't need to recreate the wheel. And there are a lot of resources that I've shared and I will share with you that are out there that you're not having to recreate anything at all. So my idea is just to get started. And then in terms of a progression of what the students are working on, we want fluency within 5. So that's adding and subtracting. The students don't enter the addition progression and go right to the end and get to a bridge 10 strategy without doing anything with subtraction. You can't go down to think about those kind of decomposition strategies. And now what happens if you take away 0 from a number, right? We want to make sure that kids are understanding that inverse relationship between adding and subtracting, that any subtraction problem can be thought of as a missing add-end problem. If I know what I can add to that subtrahend to get to the minuend, then I'm going to be able to get there more accurately. Maybe my addition is stronger. So we want to work on that flexibility of thought. So think about having students work on their strategies in order up to adding within 5, then go to subtracting within 5. When those two are set, then go on to the adding within 10, and then subtracting within 10, and then finally going back to adding within 20 and subtracting within 20. So just a few thoughts there. So I'm so excited for you to get started and to download these protocols, see what you think. We would love feedback. We'd love for you guys to give us any information, any thoughts. It is a working draft because we realize we may not have thought of everything. So maybe you'll find something as you're going through it. Maybe there's a typo because we've looked at these so much that your brain kind of melds in seeing them. So let us know what you think and what we can do for you. But we will be here. I'll be creating more videos for you. And I just can't wait to join in this conversation of developing our flexible young mathematicians. Okay, take care.